Okay, everybody, take out your cell phones. Hold them up. Now, which of the following phrases best describes your feelings about your cell phone? Would it be A, thanks a lot, Marty Cooper? Or B, thanks a lot, Marty Cooper? You see, Marty Cooper invented the cell phone.
You know you don't go anywhere without your cell phone, and neither do I. But how often do you think about who invented this device in the first place? I'll be honest, I could barely contain my excitement when heading to Southern California to meet up with the man who dialed all of us into the future. This is Marty Cooper, and at 86 years old, he's light years ahead of all of us when it comes to technology. He agreed to take me for a short walk down memory lane, giving me a glimpse into the inspiration behind the invention of the now ubiquitous cell phone. It was Marty Cooper who conceived of the first cell phone and led the team that developed it. What was your vision for the cell phone when you first started working on it?
I was at Motorola in 1973, and we had a vision which we had built for many years, and that is that if you wanted to talk to somebody and have real freedom, you could not have a pair of wires that tied you to your house or made you sit at a desk somewhere. So our vision was to have a phone that you could carry with you, where you could be reached everywhere and where you could talk anywhere.
It seems unimaginable now to not have that kind of freedom.
Well, that's why what we created when we made that phone in 1973 was a revolution. We changed the way most of the people on Earth behave.
The first cell phone call ever made was on a New York City street. The date was April 3rd, 1973, and Marty Cooper called his competitor at the time.
I said, "It's Marty. Marty Cooper, I'm calling you from a cell phone, but a real cell phone, a personal, handheld, portable cell phone." There was silence on the other end of the line.
To pull it off, special towers were placed on top of buildings, and the rest is history. They held a press conference as a calling card to tell the world of this giant technological advancement.
We had to figure out how to put thousands of parts into this phone, and it just kept growing and growing and growing, and it ended up weighing 2.5 pounds. And most of this is battery. The back half of this thing is battery, and the battery life is only 20 minutes of talking.
And then how long do you have to charge it?
Well, it would charge up in maybe another 10 or 12 hours.
This seems heavy, but when you compare it to the weight of a phone booth, this weighs a lot less than an entire phone booth. Remember, at that time, there were no personal computers, no digital cameras, and no World Wide Web either. But now...
There are about 7 billion people today. There are more cell phones in the world than there are people.
What was your very first inspiration?
Well, I've been a science fiction and fantasy addict from my earliest remembrances. So I would have to say it started with Dick Tracy. Dick Tracy had a wrist two-way radio, and we were in the two-way radio business, and we just were dying to build one.
So you were trying to catch up with science fiction?
Yeah. I would say that Star Trek did kind of set the way for the flip phone.
So it's cool to be a science fiction nerd.
But I've been dreaming my whole life and living in a different world than most people, in a world that's more of the future and more of fantasy than the real world.
Well, I would have to say that you are living longer and prospering, so, right?
I can't do that very well, but there you go.
You're doing the living long and prospering fine.
Thank you.
Leave the hand signals to the rest of us.